Student loans, credit cards, and mortgages. Oh my. Like many people, you may have a variety of debt. And like many people, you may be working to pay off your balances while also trying to build up some sort of a savings for a rainy day, not to mention retirement. Trying to juggle so many competing priorities, it can be stressful, particularly if you're not sure how to best focus your attentions. So, we put together this step by step guide to try to help you decide what to tackle first. We'll jump right in with step one, minimum payments. This could almost be step zero because it should go without saying that we always make at least the minimum payment on all debts on time. Keeping your debts in good standing, it's crucial to protecting your credit score. Plus, missed payments can lead to late fees and compounding interest charges, which can cause debts to quickly spiral out of control and, in some extreme cases, can even lead to bankruptcy. Step two is about building a cash buffer. Now, once you're meeting your minimum obligations, it's going to be time to start building some reserves. We suggest that you start by saving up an initial cash buffer of $1,000 just to give yourself a little bit of breathing room in your day to day expenses. That way, even if an occasional bump comes up, you won't run the risk of missing any other bills because your checking account balance is too low. Now, don't worry, we're also going to be talking about building up some emergency savings, but that's going to come down a little bit later after we've checked off a few other boxes. Next, it's time to look around for any low hanging financial fruit, which brings us to step three, the employer match. So, we would encourage you to contribute enough to your 401k to capture the full amount of any matching dollars that Selden LLC provides. Selden LLC's match is essentially free money, so not taking advantage of it feels a little bit like leaving the money on the table. Fun fact, Selden LLC matches 3.5% when you contribute 6. Step four is the dreaded credit card debt. If you've been carrying balances on any credit cards, now is the time to start chipping away at them by paying a little bit more than your monthly minimums. Eliminating this type of debt is so important so that you don't get stuck on that high interest treadmill. So, what if you're carrying a balance on more than one credit card, like many of us are? There are two common strategies to tackle credit card debt: the snowball method and the avalanche method. Let's take a look. In the snowball method, you start by paying extra on the credit card that has the smallest balance until it's paid off. Then you move on to the card with the next smallest balance, paying the minimum payment plus the amount that you were paying on that first card. Now, you continue this until all of your cards are paid off, but the benefit to this particular method is that it helps to build momentum and it's really satisfying to see those zero balances start appearing. In the avalanche method, you'll start by paying extra on the card that has the highest interest rate until that one is paid off. Then you'll move on to the card with the next highest interest rate, making that minimum payment plus that amount that you were paying on the first card. And then you'll continue this approach until all of your cards are paid off. The benefit to this method is that you may save a little bit of money on the interest, especially if you have cards that have a wide range of interest rates. Once your cards are paid off, if you continue to use them, make sure that you start paying your balance in full every month in order to avoid those interest charges. Now that you've paid off some credit card debt and you've successfully built that $1,000 cash buffer, now it's time to jump into step five, which would be to create an emergency savings. So, for this step, you should really aim to save at least 3 to 6 months worth of essential expenses. Now, whether you decide to keep that in cash or you would prefer to keep that in the bank, either is totally fine. We just want you to have a goal to create 3 to 6 months of those essential expenses and save that back. This cash or this money in your bank, it's going to be a safety net. And this is going to protect you from having to fall back on those high interest credit cards in case of a job loss, medical emergency, or any of those other life curveballs that always seem to come up. Step six is investing versus debt. And this is really difficult to balance. How do we continue to invest in our retirement while we're trying to pay off our debt? Well, the good news is now you have many of your most pressing financial needs covered. We've paid off a little bit of credit card debt, we've built that $1,000 cash buffer. We're diligently working on building essential expenses equating to 3 to 6 months in an emergency fund. And so now we can a little more easily move down our priority list. Now, the bad news is by the time that you get to this section, this is where your decisions may start to get a little bit more complex. So, if you do still have debt, whether these are student loans, a car payment, maybe a mortgage loan, try comparing those interest rates on your debt. That can really help you decide whether your next priority should be paying more than the minimum on your remaining debts, or if it's time to start investing additional unmatched dollars towards your retirement. Now, if you do have student loans or a mortgage, always make sure that you're taking advantage of any tax deductions that you're eligible for on the interest that you pay on those two loans. But ultimately, you should aim to save 15% of your pre tax income towards retirement each year. And don't forget, this also includes that employer match that Selden contributes to that 401k for you. So try to hit that mark before you continue down your priority list, getting to that 15% contribution. Our last step is step 7, and this is all about other savings goals. So, once our credit card debt is paid off, once we're contributing that 15% to retirement savings, and we've got that 3 to 6 months of essential expenses, that financial safety net in a strong and solid position, now it can be time to start turning our efforts and our cash into some of our other goals. Maybe we're planning our child's college education, or maybe we're planning that trip of a lifetime, or perhaps there's one last bill that we need to go ahead and get paid off. Whatever that looks like, we don't really want to start focusing on saving money for these types of items until that debt and that retirement is a paramount focus for us. Let's cover some quick key takeaways. No matter what other financial priorities you have, always be sure to make it at least the minimum payment on all debt on time. Also, your next step should generally be to build a cash buffer so you have some wiggle room in your finances to help you meet those unexpected expenses. If possible, try to capture the full amount of any employer match on retirement savings so you don't leave free money on the table. Lastly, paying down any credit card debt and then fully funding your emergency savings should generally be your next moves before you move on to any other investing or debt goals. One of the best tools that you can use to be financially successful is a budget. Track your spending, categorize your expenses, and set a personal budget. Here's a couple of guidelines for you to look at. Essential expenses. This should equate to about 50% of your income. These are going to be things like your home, food, transportation, any healthcare or childcare expenses, student loans, and then those minimum debt payments that you may have. Now, for retirement, again, we really want to shoot for 15% coming from your income. This percentage will not only include your individual contribution, but remember, it also includes Selden's contribution to your account as well. Now, for a short term savings, we say about 5%. This helps you build an emergency fund and cover any of those other unplanned expenses. Now, the ultimate goal is that we work towards that long term savings and that emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of those essential expenses.